spot.
This meeting to order. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 3rd Benton City Council meeting. First, I would like to ask Mr. Ferguson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Sarah Funk, who will take the oath of office. Sarah, would you step up, please? And Rebecca is going to do the honors of swearing you in.
Right over there. You're gonna need one of those mics though, so they can hear you.
That's why I'm getting this one right here.
You share the mic?
Well, I don't bite.
Like a duet.
Okay, like a duet.
Yeah, I won't
Like a
bite.
duet.
I promise.
Okay.
Can you hear?
We can hear, I can hear you. Yes.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Sarah Funk,
I, Sarah Funk,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I
do solemnly swear or affirm that
Yeah.
I
am a citizen of the United States of Washington,
am a, you gotta go slower,
citizen
citizen
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of
and
Washington,
the state of Washington,
that I am legally qualified
that I am legally qualified
to assume the office
to assume the office
of City Council Position Number 4,
of City Council Position Number 4,
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the state of Washington,
and the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of this office
discharge the duties of this office
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can sit there.
Okay. Three against one, we're not doing that.
Oh, did she sign it?
No, not yet.
And before we get too far into this, I would like to ask the people in the audience not to carry on conversations. There's an echo when more than one person is talking. So if you do have something to say, please state your name and step up to the microphone. Okay, moving on, then we'll have roll call, please.
Councilwoman Wadsworth,
Here.
Councilman Sandretto,
Here.
Councilman Moakler,
Here.
Councilman Reed,
Here.
Councilwoman Funk,
Here.
all present, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes the regular meeting minutes from April 19th and bills and communications.
I would like to,
Mayor. Oh, sorry.
I would like to remove the regular meeting minutes and special meeting minutes discussion for discussion.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, I also need to just make one clarification for the record on the minutes as well.
okay. All right. Shall we then approve the bills and communications and come back to the minutes?
Madam Mayor, I will approve the consent to get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Read aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. So now let's discuss the minutes that are in question. First, I will say that it was very difficult for anyone to hear. The audio went in and out, so I think there's a lot of inaudible things that are in there. Okay.
An understanding of that on page 2, for the discussion during excusing me from the special meeting. It shows I voted as a yay for that, which I abstained.
I will make that correction.
Perfect. And then just down from there, it shows that I also voted as a yay to approve the minutes, which I did not as well. If we could just correct those, please.
Yes, I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you.
It's you, buddy.
Okay, didn't want to jump in without the mayor's permission there. Yeah, so on page 10 of the minutes, right there at the end of the comments, or the discussion related to the moratorium. At the very end, one of the things that I added that I didn't see in the minutes that I'd like to be reflected in the minutes are where the minutes stop, I believe, after they say, or after I said, we need to ensure that we define the exact portions of the codes or the code that are suspended. I went on to say, I'm reading this verbatim, but as the mayor stated before, comma, it won't have any effect on anyone who has already applied, period. We will still be issuing building permits for folks who have completed preliminary plats. We'll still take applications, comma, but going forward, we are essentially stopping new construction on those zones for a 6-month period. I want to just clarify for council that I probably misspoke in using that last word where I said new construction. I should have said development because I'm saying right before that construction would continue for those folks who have completed plats. So I wanted to clarify that for council, but also then make sure that was part of the minutes in the record.
I'll make that correction as well.
Great. Thank you, Margaret.
Okay, and then I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes.
If I could just ask a question real quick, do we have a printed packet so Councilwoman Funk can follow along?
I have the agenda. I've read a lot of it in detail. I think I might not get stuck, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, if you need to, you can come over here. We can
Thank you.
share.
Okay.
Or your phone. You can pull it up.
On my
Oh, yeah.
phone. Okay. Thank you.
Apologize about that. Councilman
okay.
Funk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor?
Yeah, she just said yes, I believe.
You're on mute.
Madam Mayor, you're on mute.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. I don't know how I got on mute, but it did.
I just want to let council know, the next part of the agenda is the reports, that I updated the treasurer's reports due to an error. However, it is on the agenda and the packets, the new updated ones, and I did print some out in case anybody in the audience would like to see them.
Okay, so moving on then. We will move to proclamations and acknowledgements. I don't know that we have any tonight. Other than
Madam Mayor?
that, yes.
I believe we need to approve the agenda.
Oh, I thought you did that. I heard the eyes going around. Okay. When you say aye, would you please state your name? Please signify by saying aye to pass the motion.
Okay, Madam Mayor, may I have the floor before we set that?
Who is this speaking?
Councilman Sandretto.
Okay, yes, you may.
Mr. Ferguson, just real quick, if one wanted to discuss something about potentially purchasing property, that should be done in executive session, right?
Yeah, so anything to choose a site or selection of purchase of property by the city could take place in executive session, absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to add a executive session under that
Okay.
as well at the following this one, just so that I can propose an idea to everybody.
Did the current agenda has the executive session, the first executive session taking place before we get to the bones of the agenda? Did you want it immediately after that? or-
Yeah, we might as well. That way we
Okay.
just don't set these folks outside several times.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
And that would be subsection 1B,
Okay. 42.
4230, 110, 1B.
Okay, and I'd like that just for, say, 5 minutes when we get to that point.
We need a motion to add that
Motion to add
to the
that
agenda.
agenda and
and then motion to approve the agenda.
and
Sorry.
motion to add that to the agenda following the executive session that's there and approve as amended.
Second, Mochler.
Okay. Please signify by saying aye if you approve.
Mochler, aye.
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, aye.
Reed, aye.
Funk, aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor?
Yes, you may.
We do have a visitor's comment today.
Okay,
So-
all right. Since there are no proclamations and acknowledgements, it's now time for visitor comments for non-agenda items. Would you please step forward and announce your name?
Good evening. My name is Don Allen. And what I would like to do is I'd like to bring up some things that I think are very important. And I would ask all of you to pay attention to what I have to say because I think it really is. And it has to do with Title 17. And what I'm going to say is I'm not going to read, because I only got 3 minutes. I'm not going to read out what it's all about. What I'm going to do is give you the code sections that I'm referring to and then ask you to look into them. Of which this is what I'm looking at. And I would ask City Council to look into it. What code section I'm referring to is 1736, 17.36.005, 1736 as a whole. And also, I would like for you to look into 17.12030 and also 1714 as a whole, and 1714-20B especially, and 1714-030, 1714-040, 1714-70, 1716-220, 1720-115. As I'm sure you already know, Title 17 has not been passed by City Council as of yet. So I would ask that everything that we do as of now, we should be using the old code, not this code, because it hasn't been approved as of yet. There is quite a few changes to the code, and these changes that I'm bringing to your attention, I would ask you to look into. That's all I ask, okay? I also want to mention that the forms that we are going to have for the city code and applications for people to fill out to do what various things they need done, that the city should have a code section referring to each section of what they're talking about should be addressed. And not just hand out a form and say, do this, and without saying, okay, this code section is what you need to refer to why we are doing what we're doing. So I'm asking that. I think it's very important because people want to know if there's fees that are involved in this, which there is, in many applications, then justify the fees of what you're talking about and do the same thing. You need to have code section representation on all of it. Okay, I'm probably getting close. I would also ask, another thing I think would be very beneficial for people in your position and also for the planning commission, that there should be a period of time before you get your packages. And that package should give, I'm thinking like 7 days to give you adequate time to review those packages. And whatever you could come up with that gives a little more time to make sure that everything is taken care of, that would be greatly appreciated. I think there's another thing I've mentioned before, and probably it's been 2 or 3 years ago. I understand, maybe I can ask Rebecca this, I don't really know. The fee or the rent for these 2 buildings is $2,000 a month. Is that correct?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. Okay, so we've been in here in these 2 buildings since 2016. So that's $168,000 that we poured down a boot. Okay. And we got nothing to show for it because we're renting it or leasing it, whatever you want to call it. So my question is, you spent $100,000 on a facelift on a building, the original building, the old city hall, and you did that. Looks great. So what are we going to do? There's nothing happening with that building that I know of. It's not rented, it's not leased, it's nothing. So why is that? I'm also saying too, in regard, and I'll get off my soapbox, that getting that library painted is way past due. It needs to happen. The fascia board, there's no paint left on it. It's gone. So that really needs, don't let that building just fall apart. I mean, it needs to be taken care of. And with that, I will close. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Okay, moving on now to regular reports. Benton City Chamber of Commerce Quarterly Report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Councilor, City staff, Benton City community members. It is a pleasure to be with you in person tonight after 2 years. That is very, very exciting. I am here to talk about the first quarter report for the Benton City Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Information Center. We started off this quarter with quite the bang and look forward to going over all of the achievements we've been able to make so far this year. Starting off as usual with our statistics. So from January through March of this year, in Facebook reach 19,553, Facebook engagement 10,335, followers 3,068, Instagram 505, Twitter 109, website clicks 1,878 people who visited our website, weekly newsletters recipients 1,079. For our in-person chamber office visitors, 112, and calls 95. Currently, today we sit at a business, nonprofit, and municipal membership of 58 and associates 7. Now we'll get into the meat of the reports. I know that you have copies included in your electronic packet, but I printed these to pass around as well. So a couple of big things. So for our developments for this quarter that the teams put together, we have the Benton City welcome packets. So that's something that has been both distributed by our office as well as other businesses, municipalities. I think it's a great feature for new residents coming into our community, giving them a comprehensive showcase of all of what Benton City has to offer, contact information, services, organizations, etc. So we were very excited to have that done. You'll also notice that all of our events for the entire 2022 year are planned and ready to rock and roll. With that said, our Benton City Days Planning Committee meeting, we are starting that this month. It's actually tomorrow. So there's going to be a lot of shameless plugs in here, but if there is anybody both on council as well as Benton City community members who would like to participate and help us plan the best Benton City days in recent memory, please contact anybody at the chamber, because we are very much looking forward to blowing everybody's socks off this year. We've been waiting for 2 years to show you, after the 2019 event's success, what we have been working on. So again, if you are interested, please contact anyone in the chamber and we would love to have you. We do also have an upcoming event this weekend. We have the Mother-Daughter Tea event. It's a fundraiser for our Benton City community events put on by both local community members. Joanne Glasgow really helps us in putting that event together. We've already have 40 confirmed spots and tickets are still available. So if you or anybody, mother, daughter, would like to attend that event, we would love to see you. Speaking of exciting events, we do have our Building Bridges networking events, which is coming up also here in just a couple weeks, which is May 19th. It's very exciting to see the momentum that this event has, just because, again, after 2 years of not being able to have it in person, as well as I think the partnerships that both the chamber, other organizations like the BCRO, and then just the community overall in general, there's a lot of excitement happening around Benton City, and that is reflective in this event's already in RSVPs and projected attendance. Again, it's going to be May 19th from 5:30 to 7:30. It's a free event. It's going to be catered by V5. We're going to have both water, soda, as well as wine options as well. Also, shameless plug, I know that there's a lot of community members here who wear multiple hats and are involved in other community organizations. We also want to showcase at that event, if your, again, organization or municipality would like to showcase all the things that you do for our city and our community, we have a table space available for you. And again, we're anticipating between 100 to 150 attendees, which include Port of Benton, the director for the Tri-City Chamber, as well as other local chamber regions as well. So it's going to be great events and very much would love to see you all. We continue to see membership growth in terms of both recruiting new and existing business members. Have received positive reviews on improvement, as well as feeling that the membership is worthwhile to local businesses. We just, today's Tuesday, so last night we did finalize our chamber organization restructuring. So similar to other chambers, our meetings have been very filled with board heavy information, where if you're a business and you currently attend our meetings, it's filled with a lot of, kind of similar things of what you all have in front of you, of finance reports, bylaws, a lot of logistical things that isn't necessarily useful or impactful for a business member who's looking to get, more benefits out of it. And so we are switching our model to similar of that of West Richland as well as Prosser. So we're hoping here in July that our board will continue to meet, finalize logistics, and then monthly going forwards, we're going to have essentially a business or membership networking once a month held at, be it a Mama's Diner or a local restaurant, meeting house, to where we'll have presentations. Members will be able to share what they are doing. And I think it's just going to be a lot more beneficial for our members. We did also complete our first lunch and learn this year, which went over fantastically. You will find at the end of your reports that I included the surveys from that event. That was put on with the coordination of Benton City Revitalization Organization, Caffeinated, Frechette Wineries, as well as Smart Storage. And it's specifically focused on social media business engagement. The goal is to hopefully continue these on a quarterly basis, with hopes of having our next one in July of 2022. We also have the Benton City Leadership Roundtable meeting, which is going to be tomorrow as well. So that is for organizations to represent themselves and to join together as a community, make sure that we're strategically planning our events, making sure that we are helping each other where we can, and also I just think partnering to build all of our organization and entities up. So very much looking forward to that as well. We did complete our community-wide Easter hunt or Easter egg hunt as well, which went beyond any expectations that we had for this year. The model that we started last year, where we tried to do with the COVID-19 restrictions and trying to disperse that throughout the community and have a kind of visit downtown area for the events. We expanded that this year and overall had over 12 organizations that took individual spots. We had an amazing turnout of both businesses, organizations, and community members who donated eggs. And overall, we had 6,500 eggs in the city of Benton City for our kids to participate in Easter. I would think it was worth noting that we were one of the few that this was a free event for the community to enjoy. And overall, I think that it was very much positive reviews. And I think with that, I think I've hit everything else. We do have, Movies in the Park is coming up as well. So all those are planned through the summer. First one's kicking off here on May 27th at Dust City Park featuring Encanto. We have an inflatable, we got an inflatable screen to assist with setup, and we've got a vendor that's going to come and cater that. And yeah, I think that's about it. So with that, if there's any questions, comments, would be happy to answer them.
I just want to say thanks to the chamber. I think you guys have been continue to do a really good job for our community, and it's so important. And maybe just one other thing about the Easter egg hunt in particular, we had a bunch of high school students come out to help participate in hiding the eggs. So, I mean, I think we caught everyone almost from every single age group. So really way to go. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you, Dakota. Okay. Rebecca, did you want to say anything about the treasurer's report?
No, Madam Mayor, I already advised council earlier during the meeting that I did replace the previous reports, and I have made copies for anybody in the audience that would like one. Okay, thank you. Okay, then, at this time, we will move into executive session. And can someone tell me how long we need in this session?
Well, with the Madam Mayor, this is Eric Ferguson, City Attorney. With the additional real estate item, I would say 20 minutes to be safe. Or do we want to shoot for 15 and then extend?
Do we have to come out of one to go into another?
No.
Okay.
As long as we just announce both RCWs when we go in.
What's the RCW for the land purchase?
So the RCW for the litigation is 423110 1I parentheses II, and then the real estate is 423110 1B. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we will start the executive session and end the public session for the next 20 minutes and then reconvene. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'll see you guys next time.
Okay. The executive session has ended, and I'm calling the regular session to order again. Okay, the next item on the agenda under items for approval is the SCADA telemetry for wells 1, 3, 4, and booster station change order. Mr. Rainey.
Hello, I'm just trying to start my video. There we go.
Okay, there you are.
All right. Yeah, I'm trying to find it now in the council packet. It's a ways down.
It's item K1.
Okay, there we go. Yes, in the original quote for the telemetry project, the sales tax was not included. And I wrote up the contract, not catching that. And I don't think anybody else caught that either. So we've added that to the project. And that amount is $5,946.86. It was oversight on all parties. And so we're bringing it here for council approval to be able to pay the sales tax on that project.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor to address Mr. Rainey?
Yes, you may.
Alan, my concern here is that everybody missed this and we're the ones going to foot the bill for the whole thing. I don't understand why that is.
Well, to me, I think it's fair to the contractor. His bid was for the work plus sales tax. And quite frankly, I thought we had taken care of it back in like November, or December. But we went back and looked at all the minutes of the meetings, and obviously we did not take care of it at that time. But if you guys feel the city shouldn't bear the full cost of that, then you guys can not approve this change order, and then we'd go back and discuss this with the contractor.
I think this is something that needs open council discussion on. Speak your minds, please.
I mean, I'm not sure who to point fingers at. I mean, obviously it was overlooked. I'm also with him. I don't think this should fall back on the contractor for it either. But I also feel like we need to do better at paying attention to things like this.
I'm supportive of Councilwoman Wadsworth's opinion and agree.
I'd be willing to take half of the hit on this. I think that the contractor and the city, or Mr. Rainey, you represented the city in this, and I think we should split it.
Okay, so at this point, I guess we need you guys to decide how you want me to proceed forward with this.
From my standpoint, Alan, I'd like you to go back and talk to them and see if we can work out some sort of discounted coverage here, because I don't think we should obtain the full burden of $5,000. It seems like every other day we're getting hit with $5,000 here, $10,000 there.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, may I speak?
Yes, you may.
So are we wanting to table this to the next meeting to give Mr. Rainey time to talk to the contractor? That's what we're saying.
I'm good with that.
Yes, please.
So I'll motion to table until the next council meeting.
Second.
May 17th.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Reed, aye.
Sandra, do I?
Mochler, aye.
Funk, aye.
Wadsworth, aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we'll talk about this later then. Okay, the next item is the confirmation of our seasonal park maintenance person. And Rebecca, would you please introduce him?
He is not here. I was not
Oh.
aware that he needed to be here.
Okay,
Jose, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, just so you can help me with this. This position was posted since last year. We didn't hire anybody last year, my understanding, but it was continued to post till fill. We only had 2 applicants in the whole time. We did set up 2 interviews. During that process, one of them canceled and said they didn't want the position anymore. So we did 1 interview, did the background checks, comes very highly recommended. A person who's very on time, well, works well with others, takes direction very well. And actually, when they did the interview, he said that this would be the perfect position for him. He is only looking for a part-time position as well. So we did let him know what the price was and everything, and he said that was all perfect for him. So today we're bringing to you confirmation of the seasonal park maintenance of Mr. Lawrence Reyna that will be starting May 9th and go through mid or end October. Jose,
I think the budget amount is like 6 months. I think that would put us like the first week of November, being that he's going to start next with confirmation. He would start next Monday.
yes.
Are there any questions?
I guess I don't have a problem confirming a seasonal person this way, but I believe just for future reference, council wants to meet all applicants,
Okay,
and we should be able to see their application as well.
okay.
Thank
I
you.
do apologize about that.
Madam Mayor, I move to confirm Lawrence Reyna.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Reed, aye.
Mochler, aye.
Funk eye.
Wadsworth, aye.
Sandra, do I?
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor before we continue?
Yes,
Okay, so just to confirm with Mr. Sandretto, when we ask somebody for confirmation, you would like them present here to get to know him and have his application posted.
That's correct.
Will I have to redact anything from the application? I just want to make sure so I know my,
There's an exception in the PLA for employment applications.
Okay.
We can talk more about it later.
Council.
I believe we have 4 yea votes.
it's been passed, Madam Mayor.
Okay. That resolution 2020, resolution of the city of the top of moratorium, it's a building permit application and applications are due in our 3.
You're cutting out. All we hear is bits and pieces.
Yes, I agree.
I'm not sure I can.
Your camera seems to be frozen too.
Okay.
Maybe try turning off the video. Could be a latency issue.
Hear me?
Can you turn off the video, Madam Mayor, and see if it improves the latency issue?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me fine?
Yep.
Yes, Bill.
Perfect.
So Jeff, question, if she has to log in and log out and log back in, just
She just
like she
did.
just did, do we wait for her to come back?
Yeah.
We wait for it to come back. Yeah.
Okay.
I have before we have pro tem, we take the reins here.
He's right up there.
Yeah, I know. He's ready to go. We can assume, I mean, he has no video, but
It's been a long day. I don't look exactly pleasant. It's windy here.
Talk to these two.
Why, there's all five of you are here.
I'm just hanging out.
Working on his karaoke lineup.
All right.
If she gets back in, she can still participate, right?
Right.
She can take back over the
Best way to
meeting.
guarantee that she'll show up is by making the motion to.
Yeah.
Pro tem, and then she'll call it.
I gotta be that guy. Due to the I make a motion due to the mechanical failures or computer failures, technical issues, that Mayor Pro Temp continue the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vocal aye.
I
Wadsworth, aye.
All right. In the mayor's temporary absence, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. It's resolution 2022-06, a resolution of the city of Benton City, Washington, adopting a moratorium.
Okay, so I guess I'll introduce this one because there were some changes to it. Actually, in the agenda packets, there was a reference to a declaration of emergency, so we'd want to strike that, as well as in the sample motion. But the rest of it is actually okay, because it's the actual resolution in the packets that needs to be further changed. Based on our discussion in executive session, we are adopting, or with the passage of the vote, obviously it needs to happen still. But the resolution is for.
She's coming in.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, we've started discussing the next resolution.
Okay.
Should I continue until this resolution's complete and then we vote her back in?
No, she can just
Or
take the lead.
Just take it from here? Perfect.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I was introducing this moratorium resolution. Is that okay, Mayor?
Okay. Please
Okay.
continue.
And so I was stating that actually in the sample motion and the agenda packets they're accurate, with the exception of the reference to declaring an emergency. This resolution does not declare an emergency. They're striking that. But the rest of it was okay. It was based on a prior version that did exclude building permit applications, which is the intent of the council. And so in order to achieve that, we would need to modify the resolution in the packets itself. We would need to modify the title. So in the title of that resolution, between the words residential and subdivision, we would need to add building permit applications and building placement applications.
Is that, I thought it was after that. I
Is
thought we were
after
gonna put
that?
it after residential subdivision applications, comma. then what you
Right.
said.
I guess the original title didn't even have subdivision applications in
Mm-mm.
it. So, but it's more accurate to leave that in because it does restrict subdivisions and building permit applications. So I would suggest leaving that reference to subdivisions in. So saying adopt a resolution of the city of Benton City, Washington, adopting a moratorium on the acceptance of residential building permit applications, building placement applications, and subdivision applications in the R2, R3, medium, and high density residential zoning districts, scheduling a public hearing, providing for severability and establishing an immediate effective date because it's a resolution. The only other modification we would need to do is in the first paragraph of that resolution, the operative language. We would want to change after the words new residential subdivisions, we would need to add the language comma, short plat applications and unvested building permits related to, and then the rest just siding and construction of single multifamily residences. So the rest is the same.
Are we gonna restrict E?
Yes, and we also strike E.
Okay.
I hope everybody followed that.
Yeah. So we'll have to bring an amended resolution to pass, or for the meeting minutes for next council meeting. Assuming it's passed, which it hasn't.
So are
So
they able to make a motion to pass the resolution with amendments, but then when we bring back the minutes, put it in there?
Yes,
Okay. As part of the minutes.
right.
Okay.
Oh, you-
Okay, then, is there any more discussion on this? Okay, hearing none. I would accept a motion.
Let me
I'm
ask.
sorry, I
Can't hear you, Barry. That's fine. Okay.
Come on out.
We have a public question, Madam Mayor.
a public question?
Madam Mayor, this is Mary Lato. I've got a question. Can I have the floor to ask my question?
Yes, you may.
Obviously, I know you guys run an executive session, so there's probably some privileged information that most of us don't know about. But I'm kind of concerned that we're stopping or putting a moratorium on building for 6 months going into a building season of summer. Can you help the public understand as much as possible without, giving us the details that we're not supposed to have, but can you help us to understand why this is even on the agenda tonight?
It's certainly up to council whether they want to discuss this or not. Under the RCWs related to passage of moratoriums, they don't, council doesn't technically have to hold a public hearing immediately. They can hold one within 60 days of passage of the resolution, but they're certainly welcome to hold a public hearing now. Of course, we don't have findings. We would need to adopt findings after holding a public hearing. That would be the purpose of it.
I think it would be best to set the date for the public hearing so that we can have proper notice.
Okay.
And then if Mrs. Leto wants to participate there, then that would be good.
Right, and I guess I should clarify a little bit that I think discussing it tonight wouldn't foreclose having a public hearing within 60 days. It's just certainly up to the council whether we want to or not.
Madam Mayor, we also have a Zoom visitor who would like to speak on this.
Okay. I think most of these items, if they're not registered as for an agenda item, I think the visitor section was for things not related to an item. What is the correct rule on this?
If that's where the visitors' comments come in, that if they're not related to an agenda item, they have the visitors' comments. My understanding, then they can comment
If
during
they,
the section that they want to.
if they submit a comment request in advance of the meeting to speak.
There's actually no RCW that says that they have to my knowledge.
You just on our.
Well, that's been our rule. I believe that we had to have a request to comment on an item by, I believe, 4 o'clock on the day of the meeting. And I think we should continue with that.
Okay, it's your call.
Okay, but we do have to set a date for this public hearing.
That's
tonight.
in 60 days if the moratorium passes. And that would be a public hearing, obviously for the public to participate, but also for the the council to adopt or make findings that would need to be made to basically justify the moratorium. Typically what those findings are is related to what the issue is that created this need for the moratorium, and then what we're studying between now and later to alleviate those concerns. And after that public hearing, the moratorium could continue for up to 6 months from that date. And it could be extended if additional findings were made that it was justified to be further extended.
So then once this resolution passes, at the next council meeting, we set the date, or do we have to set it today?
We don't have to set it at the.
Well,
at
according
the
to-
Hearing today, but we certainly can. Did we set a hearing date or we just?
According to this resolution, it says public hearing shall be scheduled and notice to be held before July 2nd, 2022.
Right, and that
That's
would
the
be
60 days.
assuming it's passed tonight, that would just be a date 60 days from now. But if we don't have a public hearing by then we're in violation of the RCW that
Okay.
justifies moratorium. So it enables us to pass them.
Do we have a motion already on the floor?
No.
No.
I would like to motion that we set a date for a public hearing prior to approving this.
Can we do that? Can we have a public hearing prior? to moving the
Absolutely,
moratorium?
yes. Yes, you can.
So,
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, I guess we can vote that we're going to table this and have a public hearing prior. I think that will stretch this out to the entire summer, and we probably won't have our standards in place.
Well, I don't know that that's a motion to table it, Mayor. I believe that's a motion to hold a public hearing. You can do that when you pass a moratorium. You can hold a public hearing at the outset and then decide whether or not to pass it. It sounds like that would be the pending motion. Wouldn't be a motion to table the resolution.
so, but the council's wanting to make a motion to set a date for a public hearing prior to passing the resolution.
Correct.
So then that would have to be at least the next meeting.
Right.
We have a set agenda. We can't hold a public hearing on this tonight. It would have to be at the next meeting, is my understanding. And then after the public hearing, we could pass it or deny it at that point.
So you want the public hearing for May 17th?
Sure. I'm proposing a public hearing on this before voting on the moratorium. So whether we do that in one night or not.
No, 10 days notice.
Yeah, that's 14 days. Okay.
Okay, so,
This week,
Mr. Briggs, will you please explain what is,
back to the night.
what we are voting on tonight?
I did, yeah, so it's a resolution to pass a moratorium on the vesting of subdivision applications and building permit applications in the R2, R3 zones within the city. What this resolution would do is stop people from applying for those permits, so they couldn't divide the land up into squares to build houses on them.
No, I understand that. I'm asking this change. What do we need to vote on?
Oh,
What are we voting on right now? What's the motion on the table? The motion on the table is to have a
The
moratorium.
motion on the table is to hold a public hearing prior to approving this resolution.
yes.
I'd like to give
Okay.
the public a chance to speak on this prior to us approving it.
Okay, all right. And if we set that, did you decide on the 17th?
I'm not opposed to, we could even hold a special meeting if you prefer to. I just would like the public a chance to speak prior to it.
Well, I think the sooner the better. So what's our minimum days?
I think 10 days notice is the safest. It's not really an actual rule specific to moratoriums, but interim zoning ordinances, you typically would be, providing 10 days notice. I think that's probably just the best course to take would be to do that.
Is it 10 calendar days or 10 business days? Because 10 business days would be the 17th.
I believe it's calendar days.
So I think we should put it on the 17th then.
Yeah, we need to confirm that before.
So if you do it on the May 17th, you're safe?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's just do May 17th.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
Motion's already on the floor. It's already seconded.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Mochler, aye.
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, aye.
Funk, aye.
Reed, aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to motion to set the application date for the 2022 Comprehensive Plan Amendment as July 29th, 2022.
Okay, I'm bringing this to the floor. I thought the whole purpose behind setting the date and time every year was to make things simpler. Is there a major problem why we have to push back to the application time?
I don't know the basis of this, so I know it's 1 month later, I believe.
I may have the floor.
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. As we outlined in our staff report, we're still processing the 2021 comprehensive plan update. So we just thought it would be prudent to just delay everything a month. We do put a notice out in the newspaper to say the city's opened the application period for comprehensive plans. We were about to do that, and then we thought, oh, why would we have it overlap? That could cause confusion out in the public. Plus, people may want to know the outcome of the 2021 process if it's completed by that time, in order to inform their decisions moving forward.
Okay, my point again is we set it at a certain time at your request, and now we're pushing it back. And to me, that gives inconsistency out to the public. So I don't have a problem pushing it forward, but if we're going to set a time and a date, we probably need to try and make that, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I can tell you about these processes is they are legislative in nature. There were changes at the Planning Commission. We did have some difficulties the November to January timeframe, trying to get the matter to be consistently kind of move forward. So it did take longer to process the 2021. My recommendation to you would be don't have them bleed over if you can avoid it. You want to kind of keep things tighter. We would like to process things quicker, but we're limited to when the meetings come and when they're, there's a quorum and things like that. So there's some difficulties. The other thing I would point out is that there's some recent legislation related to urban growth area changes. And I've been in contact with Benton County. I haven't heard back from them yet, but there was some legislation that was passed that says that urban growth areas can be modified on a one-to-one basis without the benefit of a land capacity analysis. I think that opens an important door for the city. And so I think we want to try to get as much information internally as possible before we open up that opportunity for comp plan amendments. So that's the intent, just to again, prevent confusion with the public, give an opportunity for council to get the latest docket, hopefully over the finish line. We're very close to it. And then to just investigate more about this new legislation that's come out so we don't miss any opportunities.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I make a motion to adopt the alternate schedule for the 2022 comprehensive plan amendment cycle and accept applications between July 1st, 2022 through July 29th, 2022 at 5 p.m. I further move to direct staff to arrange all notices to be distributed as set in the code.
Mochler, second.
Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Mochler, aye.
Funk, aye.
Wadsworth, aye.
Sandra, do I?
Reed, aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, moving on to Kerr Ferguson Law Task Order 2022-001, BCMC Title 20 update.
So this is just a task order to review the proposed code revisions from HBL, which haven't looked at them. I just kind of, glossed over them to see what it could, the amount of time that it could take. And certainly overshooting it. But it allows us to not have to come back with a task order in the event that, I underestimate how much time it'll take. I think 10 hours should be sufficient. It's about 120 pages, but I'm not sure how, dense all the revisions are. And I must say that the stuff that I get from Nicole is always, very, very, very well done and well thought out. And so it probably, should take less time, I would imagine.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, you're gonna have to create it. Madam Mayor, I move to approve task order number 2022-001. Authorizing review of the Benton City Municipal Code Title 20 by Kerr Ferguson.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second, but I would like to add that the compensation shall be no more than $1,500 if acceptable.
So you're making an amendment to that motion?
Yes.
And I will second the amendment. And then
Okay.
now that that's done, we need to vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Funk, I'm.
Mochler, aye.
Wadsworth, aye.
Sandra, aye.
Great eye.
Now we got to go back to the original motion.
Yes.
In
And
favor?
all in favor?
Mochler, aye.
Funk, I.
Wadsworth, aye.
Sandra, aye.
Great eye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. All right, now we're moving on to discussion items. And the first one is the proposed comprehensive plan amendments as recommended by the Planning Commission. Is that you, Nicole?
Yep, she's setting up right now.
Okay. I think my computer has just died. It's not picking up anything still.
Chris, that's the first task order we approved for you guys this year.
I'll keep them all over an hour.
Yeah.
4 months down.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council. It's a pleasure to join you this evening. My name is Nicole Stickney. I'm with AHBL, and I'm here to present just kind of a preview of what the Planning Commission has recommended to you in terms of the 2021 Comprehensive Plan Amendment for the city. And I have some slides that I'll just go over to show you some maps and different things in my presentation. It shouldn't take long. The idea here is just to give you some familiarity about what's coming to you at your next meeting. We've already scheduled a legislative public hearing on this item. Next slide, please. Okay, so as you may recall, those of you that were on council back in December, you formally set the docket for the 2021 Comprehensive Plan Amendment in December of 2021. That approved docket included 2 private party applications, 3 suggested map changes that came to you from staff, as well as 1 suggested text change. And you did not accept an application from Bricker, and you subsequently denied that request and didn't move it along on the docket later that month. We continued to process this through the Planning Commission. I would highlight that all of the public notice requirements were met. This went through SEPA environmental review and a DNS was issued. So coordinated for 60-day notice through the Department of Commerce. And we're coming close to that period of review ending. The Planning Commission, following several excuse me, workshops and introductions, did hold a public hearing on the docket on April 20th, 2022, and they've recommended approval. And so next slide, please. I'll just walk you through as a reminder what those items are and what we found in the process. On the left-hand side, you see the different areas of town that are considered for map revisions in the comprehensive plan. And there are 4 different areas shown, and I'll be showing some more slides on that in a moment. There was also an item labeled as CPA 2021-04, which was a text amendment. We found it prudent just to update the figures about related to population, the census information, and also like employment, household, any of that data that we could find, given the fact that now census data is available. So we wanted to just make that clean up in the comprehensive plan. So that'll be coming to you for your consideration. Next slide. As you can see on the map, I'm showing this again. There's one area to the north end of town, which is kind of labeled there in gold. And then further down in the city, south of I-82, yes, there are several different areas, and we've highlighted those in different colors, and I'll be going through those individually. So CPA 2021-01 for Olson, this was a requested map change. Will also be a rezone that we would like to accompany the land use map change for the item. The applicant is Olson Brother Ranches. They're asking for a change from commercial to residential. So this would typically be considered a less intensive use. And to accompany that, they want to change the zoning from C1 commercial to R3 residential. That's a high density residential district. As you can see, these are lands that are planted in orchards right now. It's north of the school and in close proximity to recently platted lands. They think it would be more well suited for high density residential development versus commercial. And so that's why they brought that request forward. Next slide, please. This is just to make it very clear. There are 2 actions proposed for this site. One is the land use to change. And as you can see, we'd be changing from that red commercial designation to a residential, which is kind of that orange color on the comprehensive plan land use map. And likewise, a similar change in the zoning. And this represents, we think this picture shows that there's adjacent lands that already have this designation. So it would, instead of matching with the lands that are to the north and to the west of the parcel, it'll match up with the new designation with the lands that are generally to the east and to the south, although it will be at a higher density than what you see across the street and to the south. Okay, next slide. The next one is by applicant Philip Shalatovsky, and the number is CPA 2021-02. This is a map change rezone. The reason is it's outside of city limits. You may recall that your land use map in your comprehensive plan covers your entire area that's incorporated in a city, but also includes your urban growth area. Because of this, the city sets forth the policy for the land with the map, land use map in the comprehensive plan, whereas the county is the entity that implements the policy of the city and sets the zoning. So we can't change the zoning, but they would, if this action is approved, be able to apply to Benton County for a zoning change. What we have here is a lot that used to have a manufactured home on it. It's on Jacobs Road. The applicant has come forth saying, we'd like to have this changed from a manufacturing and light industrial designation to a residential designation, because we do want to go to the county and we want to have a zone change done, because right now they can't put a new house on the lot. They don't have a non-conforming status because there used to be a home there, but it was removed. Enough time has passed that the non-conforming provisions do not apply. So that's why they're asking for this change. As you can see in the bottom left-hand side, there is residential lands adjacent to the south. So they're asking for a change so they can match up with the properties that are to the south. The lands to the north, which are light industrial, won't be changed. And we'll go to the next slide. The next one, I'm going a little bit out of number order just because it makes more sense for the geography. CPA 2021-05, we're calling this the South Jacobs proposal. This is where city staff looked at some additional parcels that we thought, well, these will probably also be well suited for consideration of changing. And it was actually also a recommendation from one of the planners at Benton County to consider a broader area. So we brought that to council, you put it on the docket. So we investigated whether it would be a good idea to change the land use designation of these other properties. There are 3 in total here. Now what you can see is that, or I'll tell you, these are labeled manufacturing / light industrial. We suggest that they should be residential because they are south of Jacobs Road and they back up to other residential properties, so they're in the county. 2 of these already have homes established on them. So it's the same sort of situation, I guess a little bit differently because they still have their homes there, but they are considered legal non-conforming. What else can I tell you? So the person that owns the land where we've labeled opposed, the person there has said they do not wish for this to go forward, given that they have intent to sell the property for industrial use. So that is something that should be considered as we move forward. So the others, I believe, both had consented, but we'll have all that information for you in the staff report so you can pour through that information. Again, this is a city initiated proposal, so it didn't come from the landowners, but I know one of the landowners was certainly in support when she went to the Planning Commission and gave testimony. The next slide, please. Lastly, we have CPA 2021-06. This is to change the land use designation for additional lands that are outside of city limits, but within the urban growth area. And this is another situation where you have kind of a grouping of homes in a location that is labeled for light industrial manufacturing land uses. We feel that it would be better to match up with the other residentially classified lands to the west and discontinue the non-conforming status as much as we can on those lots. Now, again, they'd still have to go through and change their zoning through the county, but we believe it would be beneficial for everyone. And we don't believe that there would be any loss in opportunity in terms of economic development, given that these parcels are already small, they're already used for residential use. It would be hard to perceive that they would change over to industrial. Of course, it's not inconceivable, but in the 20-year time frame of the comprehensive plan, we figure probably would remain residential. That's our speculation at all. So in total, this is 8 parcels, but some of them are only partially within the UGA. So it's kind of an interesting situation, but nonetheless, if they touched our map, we looked at them. On the next slide. This is just revisiting the locations. We'll just plow right through. We will bring to you an updated list of all of our owner responses. Certainly, as I mentioned, we had one that was opposed. We did write letters to all of the property owners that had not made application and say, look, the city is considering making this change. We want to hear from you. Are you in favor? Are you opposed? The letters went to the owners of record according to the county records, assessor's records. So that's kind of where we are with that. But again, you'll get the final information in the staff report. The staff report will also contain the analysis provided by staff to the Planning Commission, and we've looked at all of the criteria that's in Benton City Municipal Code 2.70.285S, and that is criteria for changing comprehensive plan. So these are the types of things that we will in detail go through for each of the proposals so that you can see where they stand. I think that's my last slide. Let's confirm that is okay. So with that, I just, again, wanted to bring a preview to you so that you'll know what you're going to be looking at when you get our staff report for the May 17th public hearing. We will produce an ordinance for you to consider, And that will follow staff recommendation and the planning commission recommendation. But of course, if you determine that you want to deviate from it, of course, you may want to exclude that one property where the person is opposed. That is, of course, at your discretion. And I'll also back up a little bit because I meant to open with this, but I had forgotten. This is a legislative item, and that's why I'm able to bring it to you ahead of time in a workshop, just to get you, let you be familiar with it. As a reminder, you can talk to anyone you want to on this. This is a policy statement. And I bring that up in contrast to another public hearing that you'll have on May 17th, which is a quasi judicial action. So just as a reminder, when you see that come through, it will be for a short plat and a variance. You'll want to remember that you're discouraged from any ex parte communication. And of course, you'd have to disclose it during the hearing. So just wanted to put you on, just give you a notice on that, basically, have that information. So thank you for the opportunity to present on that. And then when I'm called upon, I'll provide the next one. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Nicole? Hearing none, I guess we can move on to Title 17.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have been working through code changes that have been either desirable for the city to look at, kind of modernizing codes, refining things, but also in some cases, really prudent changes that we see in our view, where we've identified inconsistencies in the code, anything that's sort of unclear, things that need to be updated due to Washington state legislation that's passed, and a number of other items. We're also just trying to clean up, make it easier to read and more user-friendly. So as you'll recall, you've updated your SEPA code recently. You've also updated Benton City Municipal Code 2.70, which is land use administration. We thought subdivisions would be a good one to follow that. So this has gone through the staff did prepare the proposed amendments. The attorneys took a look and did their review before we took it to the Planning Commission. We've gone through public notice requirements. We've fulfilled the 60-day notice to commerce. It's also gone through SEPA environmental review. But similar to the comprehensive plan amendment, I just wanted to give you a preview so that you would know what to expect prior to the next meeting. And also let you know, it's our hope to get our intent rather, to get the staff report for the council ready by the end of this week in hopes that the clerk can provide that to you earlier, because it is long and it'll take you a little time to read through it. And we don't want to give it to you the Friday before, certainly, because this would be an important amendment. So that's where we're going with this. Next slide, please. So Title 17 is what regulates the division of land in Benton City. The purpose is to regulate that division of land for the protection of public health, safety, general welfare. It's all based in state guidelines that we find in Chapter 58.17 RCW. And you can see the long list there of what the code provisions are intended to do. It's to prevent overcrowding of land, to foster orderly development, to make sure that there are safe routes to school, and a number of other things. We don't want land to be subdivided where it's going to create problems, where people don't have good access, where maybe lots are created that are frankly unbuildable. All of those types of things are what we want to avoid. So that's why we want to bring in some changes to the regulations to make sure that we're maintaining sort of these standards. Next. So as I mentioned, we identified some things that were maybe like gaps in Title 17 that we thought should be addressed in the code for the city. So we looked at those types of things. We certainly were looking at things that might be risky to the city. We're not doing a legal analysis. Of course, that's not our purview. We're not able to do that, but things that we think, for common sense purposes, that we can identify just from our background. That's what we're trying to do there. We have revised several chapters and sections to update the application requirements and streamline the review processes and so forth. So basically making it friendlier for the public and the staff alike, to make it very clear in the code what is required, what is not required to make application. We went through and fixed typos and things like that too. And I would add, you know, over the years, a lot of changes have been made to Title 17, but they've been kind of piecemeal. So you kind of end up with Frankenstein with all these body parts. And we wanted to just make sure that the whole thing is consistent and clear and the references are correct. So that's part of what we endeavored to do with the cleanup. Next. Okay, now I'm going to tell you some of the highlights of what you'll be seeing when you get the staff report and the tracked changes version of the code. So we'll have strike throughs and additions shown throughout. The other thing we'll have is little notes throughout so that you know maybe if it's not maybe something we thought would be obvious of why the change was being done, we've tried to make a note. Like this is being changed because of this law, or this is being changed because of this purpose, so that you're not left wondering. So in terms of definitions, that's chapter 17.08. We've added definitions for several items, not the least of which is binding site plans. We wanted to clarify that there is some inconsistency currently between titles 17 and 20, where the terms binding site plan, which is a division of land, and site plan review are used interchangeably. So we're cleaning that up in both cases. Boundary line adjustments, we've added application requirements and criteria for approval. If I remember correctly, that was kind of a missing item. Next. For short plats, we've clarified the list of projects which should be exempt. And we've improved the list of requirements for the applications, provided more detailed information about the administrative review process that they're subject to, and then some general edits. Likewise, binding site plans, we've clarified this chapter so it's clear that it pertains to binding site plans, which is division of land. It's an alternative division of land typically done for commercial industrial land uses, as well as manufactured home parks. And then we've also added sections that detail those application requirements, what the review process is, and so forth, including review or appeal procedures, excuse me. And then in terms of subdivisions, more fix, like you might expect, removed and added items throughout to improve application requirements. When folks make applications for subdivision, we want it to be clear what they intend to do and not have a lot of questions where we have to go back to them and back to them and back to them and say, where's this, where's that? What are you trying to do? Give us the whole picture. So we're trying to improve applications that come in, the quality of them, so we can do a better job processing them and bringing them to Planning Commission and Council. Next. I'm going to talk next about the number of lots that can be subdivided via a short plat or a long plat, which is a preliminary plat. So with that in mind, it says in RCW 5817.020 subsection 6 that typically short plats are 4 lots or less, and anything that's 5 lots or greater is a preliminary plat. And that's important because they're 2 different processes. But the RCWs have also set out, and this has been on the books for some time, that the legislative authority, which is this city council, can change that and go up to 9 lots for short plat if you so choose. Next. There has been an effort statewide to encourage communities to change their regulations and to make short plats be 9 lots and greater, or excuse me, up to 9 lots, and preliminary plats 10 lots and greater. And the reason is this is one of the mechanisms that the state Department of Commerce has identified that can help with the affordable housing crisis. Doesn't mean that it's a clear fix, but it's one of those steps that cities can take among many to increase the opportunities for lots to be created for housing of all types, frankly, but certainly for affordable housing is the intent. So I just showed this website here because they have actually given cities a lot of example codes that show how to make this work in your subdivision regulations. That's considered a best practice. I did look to see what other agencies are doing. This is information current as of today. Benton County, West Richland, and Prosser, they all allow up to 4 lots to be created via short plat. Whereas Kennewick, Richland, Grandview, Sunnyside, Zilla, they allow up to 9 lots to be created via short plat. So we are proposing to move that. Right now, you can have up to 4 lots in a short plat. 5 lots or more is needed for a, you have to go to the preliminary plat process. Here I've identified what's the difference between the two. Short plats are an administrative process. They don't go to a public hearing. There's certainly still notice to the public, but it's not the same level of scrutiny. Whereas preliminary plats, that's a type 3 quasi judicial action. It goes to a open record hearing before the planning commission, and then in closed record, it comes to the city council for final approval. Even the timelines can be different. Once an application is deemed complete, the city has 30 days to process a short plat. It's a very quick turnaround. Preliminary plats also still a quick turnaround, but that's up to 90 days. And then the time that the applicant has to complete their project is different too. We're suggesting up to 2 years. It could be 1 year for short plats. Preliminary plats always have 5 years. That's according to state law. But before we go on, an important part in that table, you'll see it's identical in terms of what agency review they go through, and with our modifications, what different sections of the subdivision code would apply. So land dedications, the requirements for streets and sidewalks and utilities, all of those things still pertain, whether whichever process you're doing, you still have to account for those types of items and build city standards. It's not like you can have a lesser product with short plat. Next slide. Before I move on, I would just also remind you that when you revised the SEPA code, you did allow up to 9 lots to be exempt from SEPA. And we did explain at that time that our intent was to bring code revisions to you related to chapter or Title 17, excuse me, to change that threshold for the purposes I outlined. Just to finish up, we added a new section to address sidewalks. We know that's been an area that has been not adequately addressed in Title 17, so we've captured that. Dust control, we're expanding that section. Blowing dust can really be a problem. Needs to be dealt with during construction, certainly. And then deviations, we just wanted to do kind of a name change. When I think of a variance in the land use concept, a variance is usually deviation from the zoning code. So it has to do with the setback or variance for height, something with bulk and dimensional aspects to construction. Whereas the term variance in the subdivision title currently just means like a relaxation of a requirement. And so we think we should call that deviations just to make it kind of clearer and kind of use separate terms. This is kind of my preference. But anyways, that's what we put in. Impact fees, we're suggesting that we change the title of the chapter. Really, you want the chapter to reflect what it's talking about, and really it's talking about impact fees. We aren't making any large changes to this or proposing any at this time. We think that should come later. But we are proposing kind of a reorganization and moving a section to a place that's more logically suited for different locations. Okay, so that's all. As I said, there will be a large packet coming to you with our proposed changes. We've worked on this for quite some time. We think it's ready for council. So we have put the notice out that there would be a public hearing on this on May 17th, and that way the public can make comments, and you can receive public comment at that time. You will also be able to review in both of these situations the public comment that was received by the Planning Commission when they held their public hearings. On a final note, you can have any discussions you like on this as a reminder, and we will bring to you a ordinance so that if you so choose that night to move forward with the first reading, you'll be ready and able to do that. No further delay needed. if you don't feel it's necessary. However, if you do want to slow things down, ask us to bring back different changes, remand it back to the planning commission, any of that's on the table. So we'll just be following direction from you when it comes to you. Thanks for the opportunity to give you an introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from council? Okay, hearing none. We're about to start in item 3, and we have 6 items to go. It's 9 o'clock. Would anyone like to take a 5-minute break? If so, I would suggest we can do it at this time. No one?
Yeah, I think
Okay,
probably take 5 minutes.
okay, thank you. All back?
Yep.
Yeah, we're back.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the update to the Benton City Administrative Code. I think Jose is here to help discuss this, but there are some things that happened earlier, I guess last year, with the use of the truck, that no one was allowed to take the trucks home. So we find that that is actually quite a liability on our part, having our emergency responding people having to drive their own vehicles. And that would extend the time that it takes them to respond to an emergency. So we've done a lot of thinking about this, and there are a couple of changes that we would like to see in the code. Rebecca, were you going to handle this, or did you want me to continue?
You can continue. I just wanted to let everybody know we're talking about page 31.
Okay.
Taking.
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
how would
Yes.
it constitute a private vehicle versus city vehicle a quicker response in an emergency?
Because if they take their private vehicle, they have to drive to the city shop, they have to open a couple of gates, they have to go in, and some of that equipment has to be warmed up before it works. And therefore, it's taking longer than the 15 minutes or 20 minutes to get there.
I'm still confused on the difference of a city-owned vehicle versus a private vehicle. If that equipment still has to be warmed up, if it doesn't really matter what vehicle
It would be warmed up while they're driving it there. It's a major delay for them to have to drive their vehicle down to the shop. Whereas if they have their vehicle there with all their tools, then they can go directly to the emergency.
Madam Mayor,
So
can I have
that
the
is-
floor?
I'm sorry, what is that?
Madam Mayor, could I have the floor?
Yes.
So just to kind of jump in on this, so there's been previous call outs, during during the week and also on the weekend. We literally drive by the water leak and had to go get a city truck to then come back and turn off the water. So, if you're adding another 10, 15-minute additional time to your response time, just because you have to go get the truck that has the right tools to take care of the emergency call out. So in past practice, we've maintenance crew has taken taken a city vehicle home for on-call purposes, and then also the ex-foreman would take one home, and he would answer to any call outs during the weekdays. That's what we're trying to get back, is so that myself and the maintenance lead could take a vehicle home, and then the maintenance worker and then anybody that's on call could take one home as well. So that way we're not, driving literally right by a, water emergency or sewer emergency to just have to go back. to go get a city vehicle with all the tools and stuff. So I just wanted to kind of give more of an insight of why we're wanting to discuss this.
Mayor, may I address the maintenance supervisor?
Yes, you may.
I apologize ahead of time. This is kind of a hot button for me. I've addressed this quite a while ago. And I don't know that any changes have been made. When the vehicle is taken home, is that mileage log being completed?
The
We
city,
have now,
oh, sorry, Mayor, go
we
ahead.
now have trackers. We have trackers, Mr. Mochler.
As per the administrative code?
We have trackers on the cars so that we can follow them and it comes into the city hall.
Okay,
So
but
we know where they are.
as it's currently written, there should be a maintenance log being filled out. And that's why I'm asking if that's being done.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor?
Is that being done, Jose?
We keep track of, our time and stuff like that. But as far as like mileage book, in the 8 years I've been with the city, I've never done a mileage book. Past practice was you take a truck home and, you respond to any call outs. You come in at 7 a.m. in the morning to do the rounds, the weekend rounds for the waste treatment operator. And then, you're just on standby in case of any emergency. I was never provided or given any type of logbook for mileage. We did have trackers on the trucks, and I'm assuming that's why we never had to do mileage, because everything was tracked by the tracker. And like the mayor mentioned, we do have trackers on all city trucks. We do keep a mileage log every time we fuel up. So every time I fuel up, or anybody in the maintenance crew fuels up their city rig, we do have logbooks for mileage in between every fuel up, every time we fuel up.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor?
So there probably isn't a need to have these mileage logs because they do document on their other logs what they've done. So those would be in their efficiency logs. And hopefully that will now be transferred directly into the pay program that we're getting. But another thing that we found is that the code enforcement officer lives 21 miles from the city. But because of her location, she can make it in 18 minutes. So I would also rather work with a time rather than a distance, because that does depend on your response time. So that's another thing I think is needed in the code.
What you're saying is that's a known violation of the municipal code.
What we're trying to do is to change the admin code so that it makes sense, Mr. Mochler. We're not trying to violate anything. We're trying to make these changes now.
Okay. So are your daily checks being performed on each maintenance vehicle?
Yes, everybody's assigned. I'm sorry, I'll jump in here. Everybody's assigned a truck, and everybody's in charge to do a safety inspection. Do their due diligence to inspect and make sure the vehicle is safe to operate, and make sure they have the right tools. Anything from rake, shovels. Also shut off valve keys for our water meters, for main lines, and etc.
Are the forms being completed?
The forms for an inspection.
The vehicle safety checklist?
I have never seen one in the time being with the city, no.
Okay, and on page 57 of the municipal code, it does list a vehicle safety checklist that should be filled out. The reason I asked this is I was forced to get this information. I was forced to actually do a public records request, and I didn't receive any of these items at the time. And that was part of my complaint to the mayor, was that it wasn't being done. I believe the reply back to me was, well, I didn't know that it needed to be done. And it seems like in the past year, it still isn't being done. So if we aren't going to follow the municipal code, why are we wasting time to change it? Additionally, has a safety person or safety supervisor been set aside by the city?
Madam Mayor, may I have?
Yes, we have.
I don't think she can hear you.
Yes, after what happened in a recent issue we had, our code enforcement officer, Jenny McCombs, has also been established as our safety coordinator.
Okay.
And I just wanted to let council know, with this taking the vehicle home, the only person taking the vehicle home right now is our wastewater operator. Nobody else is taking a vehicle home. Our code enforcement isn't, nobody from maintenance is, because of the verbiage in this code. So that is why we're wanting to bring it to you, because we no longer have a maintenance foreman. Now we have a maintenance supervisor. So that has to be updated. And during this process, we did come to the conclusion that if somebody's going to be on call, then they should be able to take a vehicle home to speed their response time to any emergency being requested in the city. And in regards to code enforcement, as the mayor mentioned, they do live 21 miles away. However, they are able to make it to a call within 18 minutes. So that's why we're wanting, again, to change it from 17.6.5, in no event shall any employee commute more than 15 miles away, one way, be allowed to take a city vehicle home. We're wanting to put, instead of 15 miles, 20 minutes.
Right. I want to put it out there that I've personally driven to two other employees' residences that are farther than 15 miles
Mhm.
besides code enforcement.
Those are the only one, that's the only one I know of. So,
And I made that very clear at the time I originally brought this up, that things needed to be changed
okay,
or followed.
okay. I wasn't here when that happened. so-
You were not.
No.
And then I just want to add, Mr. Mochler, I just want to add to that is that, at the time being, I was just a lead for water, sewer, and streets. And, the foreman at the time, I think actually around this time last year, he was already, not working for the city of Bend City. He moved on and went somewhere else. And so I've been trying to catch up where everything left off, and I'm trying to do my best to try to keep things going and, to build up the maintenance crew and work with council and try to get hopefully something figured out with this. And more than happy to supply council from this point on with mileage sheets. That's absolutely not a problem. Regardless if the trackers are on place, we could do a mileage sheet. That's not a problem. We could do vehicle safety inspection daily and start that process from here on out. Like I said, this time last year, I wasn't, fully aware of the situation as far as like the vehicle safety inspections, the mileage sheets and stuff like that. So like I said, since I've started, I've never done one. And when I started 8 years ago, I was put on call within my first year, and I never did a mileage sheet when I was on call on the weekends. Never did a mileage sheet when I would come in during the week for a sewer plug, emergency water break, or something. Somebody hit a hydrant or something like that. Never done safety vehicle inspection. in the 8 years I've been with the city. So I just want you to know a little bit on our end, how that's been and what's been happening.
Madam Mayor, this is Councilwoman Funk. May I have the floor, please?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I appreciate that I'm new being here, and I've only been in Benton City since 2018. I know there's a lot of old, frustrating stories and issues, a lot, and those aren't good. And we've had a lot of changes in personnel. But I also think my experience with the current city crew is that they're doing an exemplary job. And it's really appropriate to work to get these things right now, so they're empowered to do their job. Our city's growing. It may not have been the way it was supposed to be in the past, but on February 1st, y'all approved $3 million to expand water and sewer. That's the job that we're tasked with as a city. So if we can figure out how to support people in the right way that's most appropriate for the environment that we're in today and moving forward, I would really encourage my fellow council members to, we might not have it right today, but to take the suggestions that we're getting from the people who are doing the work to help them feel empowered to do their jobs efficiently and effectively for the citizens and taxpayers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor?
Yes, you may.
Okay, I think where we're getting off track here is it's not about, as you're putting it, given the tools, they've got the tools. They have rules that are not being followed. They haven't been being followed. It was asked a year ago, either change this or follow it. We're coming back here with very limited changes, hardly any. Then we're being told we're not following the rules still. Can you understand the frustration as a leadership role? You are now tasked with the charge of the money that every citizen pays to this town. We have no track of what's going on. Did they use that 20 miles to go to their mother's house? Or did they use that 20 miles to go change the water? But that was what that was put in place for. If we want to change that, great, let's change it. But that's not what this is. This is like 3 little line cuts and a change. This is nothing. And there's no meat to this. And there's no meat to the statement that we're not going to follow the rules, because we need rules.
I think the maintenance gentleman has verbally came out and suggested that he will fill out the forms. He will fill out his mileage. I mean, he seems to be eager to step up and try to make this right. So I think moving forward, we need to give him the benefit of the doubt to put this in place and follow some of the rules that are in here. But we have to give him a chance to do that. Obviously, he was unaware of it for the last 8 years that this needs to be followed, but moving forward, I say let's give him an opportunity to try to set it straight and take it back to us here in the next couple of weeks, and let's see if he's able to get the crew on board and doing the inspections and filling out the logbooks.
Jose, I want to apologize. I don't want to seem like I'm making an attack on you.
Oh, no, not at all. You're good. I was just trying to, put something, in discussion with council and the mayor and try to get the ball rolling in the right direction. I just want to be able to, go to a water leak and actually turn off the water meter, not have to run back for a truck or, stuff like that. It's been very frustrated. When I became a lead, I was allowed to take a truck home by my foreman. And with that, I was in charge of responding throughout the whole week for any call outs. So he would get a call from dispatch, and then he would have me go inspect the situation, whatever it was, water, sewer, somebody hit a hydrant, somebody hit a stop sign. And then if I felt the need that I needed a second person from maintenance to come and help me out, then I would do so. And then like I said, on-call rotation as well with our small group of 5 people right now. It's just, currently the 3 out of the 5 are on rotation for on-call. So, every, 3rd week I'm doing on-call. So I'm driving my personal vehicle to come into work and do the weekend rounds. Just last week I met Alan like several times on the job site for 9th Street sidewalk project in my personal car. I haven't been putting down any mileage reimbursement for that. I've been patient trying to figure out, if council is going to allow us to take vehicles home for on-call purposes, and also for during the week. I don't put down any standby pay for during the week. That's just something that's been in place since I started. I just trying to do the best to keep going forward, and I don't take anything into offense. I just want to work with council and the mayor, like I said, to move forward.
Right. One of the other items I had requested during that public records request prior to May 16th of last year was looking into employee files to see if there was a signed statement of any employees receiving the municipal code, and there wasn't. The mayor is responsible for administrating this. It's set forth by council to the mayor to help oversee the city, and that just wasn't being done. Part of my intent when I brought it to her during a council meeting was to make her aware of it and to start using it. And it's taken a year or better to make that happen. And it sounds like possibly you're bringing this forward versus her. As a city administrator, that really disheartens me, even after bringing it to her attention, because a lot of this is here as a tool to help her, not hinder, and it isn't being used. Again,
Mr. Mochler,
I have a hard
Mr.
time.
Mochler, it's not exactly the way you're calling it. I will say that. We were under the impression that you would not allow anyone. In fact, we did try to change the code one other time, and you all flat out refused. I think because you thought you could take me to court over it. That being done now, I think we need to update this code to where it makes sense. And we were reluctant to go there until we had a new council, quite frankly. So that's why we're here now, hoping for a voice of reason. And it's not that we don't want to obey the law. It's just that with your direction, you made it very difficult.
Madam Mayor, may I have the floor?
Yes, you may.
As you all know, I'm new to this and I have been going through this piece by piece, trying to update it. And one of my suggestions when this was brought up is I didn't want to bring it to you guys piece by piece by piece. I wanted to bring it to you guys all with all the corrections that I thought needed to be done, the mayor thought needed to be done, code enforcement thought needed to be done, maintenance thought needed to be done as one whole thing. But this issue of the vehicles was becoming an issue because of past precedents of a foreman being able to take a truck home and all the stuff that was past precedent. So I'm like, all right, let's just take it to council with this little piece. And we're continuing to review it as to see what needs to be changed. And compare it to the municipal code with the admin code. Because one of the things I noticed is I understand council confirms and appoints every position in the city. However, part of this says temporary positions are not needing to be confirmed by the council. So see things like that I'm trying to clean up. And I was wanting to bring it to you guys all in one piece, but the decision was piece by piece. So, and this was the first piece to be brought to you guys as of right now.
As this reads currently, this isn't going to help code enforcement at all because 1765 still hasn't changed. Anybody more than 15 miles, commuting more than 15 miles will not take a city vehicle home.
No, the issue of the minutes with further discussion was decided on Monday, so I didn't have time to update it.
So you're only coming to us for the vehicle being taken home for the maintenance
And the change of the minutes.
and the change of the minutes.
Yeah.
Where is that listed?
I didn't get a chance to update it. That's-
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So
didn't
you,
get
you
it.
want us to take that verbally and make an amendment?
Yes, if you guys can, if not, then I can bring it back to you guys with the change.
Well, this is only here for discussion
Discussion,
currently,
Yes.
so
Yeah, it's just a discussion right now. It's not an action to be taken tonight. We're discussing options to see what you guys are willing to.
Well, if I can just suggest, I mean, I have a company vehicle that my job allows me to take home and trust me and make the right decisions. I think it's beneficial when you do have one, instead of me driving all the way into town to pick up a company vehicle and then drive all the way back out. It makes complete sense. It's sad that we can't trust, or we've gotten to the point where we can't trust the people taking the vehicles home. But I do think it's important that we allow them to take a vehicle home. And I mean, I just see it to be nonsense that we've gotten to this point where we can't trust the workers to take a vehicle home and use it for work purposes. I have my own private vehicle I use for private use, and I use my work vehicle for work use. And I guess if you cross that line, that's between you and the business. But I think hindering them by having to drive all the way into a shop to get a vehicle and turn around and drive all the way back out is just, it does not make any sense. And I do logbook. I'm sure I'm being tracked. It's not a big secret. I have no issue with doing inspections, and if he's willing to do that, I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, and if I could jump in real quick, I also wanted to mention the verbiage change on the who gets to take a truck home. So right now, A is the wastewater treatment operator, and then B, the maintenance foreman and or supervisor, code enforcement and animal control. And on that, I think the verbiage kind of got a little bit confused, because when I originally talked to Rebecca about the situation and the mayor, we definitely want to have, the maintenance lead also take a truck home during the week to be able to respond. Like I said, my previous foreman would get a call from dispatch, and then as a lead would send me out for the respond. And the reason being for that is that I've been on the job site for the lift station, or 9th Street, or the Westdale extension. I've been out there after hours in a response to that. That's where the maintenance lead would come out. So that way I could stay on site doing the inspections, and then the maintenance lead could go out and do whatever type of call out, water, sewer, streets, or something like that. So that didn't get put in correctly. I just want to state that, so that way it's clear what we want in maintenance and moving forward.
And then I just have one more question. I think it might be for the attorney. He had mentioned a couple times that in his own vehicle, he went out to assist the city. Where does that put us if he had gotten in an accident on the clock, not being?
City's insurance has to cover it.
It'd be a workers' comp claim.
I don't disagree with you one bit. In fact, I've spoke up against another city employee using a private vehicle
But
for
we're
other
hindering
things.
them if they have to not have a vehicle.
The other employee actually works Monday through Friday, business hours.
Yeah.
There's just apparently no city vehicle for them to drive, or they're choosing not to. I'm not sure which. I just know they're using their personal vehicle. I don't care for that. I think they should be using a city vehicle.
I use my own personal vehicle when I have to go to the bank, go to the attorney's office, because there is no city vehicle available for us to take. Now that we're fully staffed, all the vehicles, all the trucks are being used, is my understanding.
And in terms, so the bodily injury portion of the claim would be a workers' comp claim. That'd be the primary insurance, and then the damage to the vehicle would likely be under the city's policy as well. It's one of the first questions they ask you when you get to an accident is, were you on the job? Because most policies, private policies, have an exclusion for operating your motor vehicle for compensation. So they probably say that it fell within that if you were going out to a call site, although arguably maybe it's not. You could argue it's similar to commuting to and from work. So, but yeah, it certainly could put the city up for liability.
So, Mr. Mochler, on your comment about personal vehicles, Jose, would there be an available pickup for us when we need one?
As far as the office staff,
Yes.
with the summer hire confirmation, he would take the truck that's available at the moment, and that would max us out with our vehicles as for the maintenance side. So every truck in maintenance is being used. We actually have two of the new hires, which is Bodie and Max. They're actually sharing a truck. 9 out of 10 times they're working together, and so that's the reason for that.
So come October, there will be the possibility of a truck being available.
Yes, for let's just say if JB is doing like a bank run or something like that, that truck will become available then.
I think that we should probably be budgeting for a passenger type vehicle for office staff to use as needed.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
We've started in the budget for a new pickup. If the council is wanting to take that away from there and put it towards that, we can do that.
I don't think council should make that decision. I think city staff and the mayor knows where it is most needed. We're here to approve the request.
Yeah.
So if you folks choose to do that, that's up to you.
So I'm going to step up and ask for the floor real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we're getting into the minutia now. I think we've beat this horse to death.
I do have one question after Mr. Sandretto.
Okay.
But I think direction right now is resolve the writing corrections in here for the city staff who's going to drive vehicles. Also, we are saying that they will complete the inspection form. Is that correct?
And if
Yes,
you're
sir.
wanting mileage.
It really doesn't matter to me. That's just what's written in the administrative
As
code.
long as
has
we
been.
remove the mileage issue and we say that we're using trackers or whatever the case is, that's fine.
We need Jose, if you'll, apologies for interrupting. I think Jose, you need to go read this, the whole thing real close would be a recommendation. Sorry if we're supposed to be here to approve stuff.
Yeah.
So that when it comes back though, that we don't end up with these same things. So
Right.
it's something you feel like you can live with.
The next thing, we need to have our insurance contacted and find out exactly how and what they're going to do as far as coverage if an employee gets in a vehicle accident. And those of us that are on committees would probably be prudent for us to check with those agencies that we deal with and see if they have excess vehicles that we might be able to pick up for a couple $1,000s and throw on the road.
I agree.
And that would be my direction at this
The
point.
other thing, if I might jump in here really quick before Mr. Mochler. Once we decide on this part of the code, the admin code, then we will have to go back and conform the Benton City Municipal Code to what we have here. So that will be another step in this process. But we wanted to get a read on what you were thinking before we attempted to do any of that. Mr. Mochler.
Bill, I know you wanted to ask a question. If I could just step in real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Question for the attorney to look into, maybe for us. We receive a stipend for our meetings. We are taxed on that stipend. So that would, in my opinion, consider us employees. We are traveling to meetings for various things. At that point, during those travels, are we considered an employee and would the city cover us if we were in a car accident for that? So maybe that's something we want to look into as well.
Are you talking about the committee meetings or these meetings? Or
Any
all of them?
meeting.
Okay. Because I can shoot out an email to Lisa, who is our rep, and ask her.
That would just be a concern if you could look into it. I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to step ahead of you. Go ahead.
Nope, you're good. My turn?
Yes, sir.
Please.
All right, we set all these issues to the side. I'm sitting here looking at this and the proposed changes. Currently, if I'm looking at things right, we have only the wastewater treatment supervising operator taking a vehicle home, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, reading between the lines here, we want to have a supervisor or foreman, an on-call person, and code enforcement. Correct? We want to add 3 vehicles for take home, correct?
No, it'd be 4.
4. Okay, how's this looking
5.
with the cost of maintenance, the cost of fuel versus how often all of these people are actually called in? I can kind of see the animal control issue. You know, if the sheriff's department calls and says, hey, we have an animal control, that's a specific job function. But I'm also looking at, you know, are we putting 4 vehicles out on the road and maintenance and upkeep and fuel costs and everything else? How often are these guys actually getting called into that magnitude?
Well, one of them is going to be just on the weekends. I think during the week, we're going to have 4. We'll have Wade, code enforcement, and then Jose and Sergio. And then whoever's on call for that weekend would get one.
Yeah, that is correct.
Do we have, I guess my question is cost versus benefit? Do we have the need for all of those at the same time being out? And what are we doing for contingency if one of those vehicles goes down? Sorry, I'm just trying to be a good steward with the finances here. If I can readjust that question a little bit. Do we have a justifiable need for that many vehicles at one time being out?
Yeah, I'll jump in on here. Bill, we past practice, that's what we've done. Like I mentioned before, with Kyle being the foreman and me being the lead. That's the same scenario that we want to do. We, like I said last week, let's see, just this Sunday alone, I got called out. On Sunday, I got called out, I believe it was 4 times.
Okay.
So I went in the morning to do my weekend rounds, which is going and checking the lab, the wells and lift stations. And then I had to stay because they were going to do some water tie-in on
You mean Saturday?
on Saturday. And then I had to come back and clean in between a party at the community center. And then that was Saturday. And then Sunday, I went and did my weekend rounds again. And then I went to go clean in between a party, that 2 parties at the community center. And then I also, Hillview Mobile Home Park had a leak, which I went out there and took care of. And then came back home and then got called out again by dispatch to go back out there. So, I mean, Hillview Park alone, you're talking about 50 mobile homes without water, you know, and the first thing they ask me every time, how soon can you be there? You know, how long is it going to take you to be there? You know, that's literally the first question from dispatch or from, you know, anybody that's calling me for.
Now, I want to be perfectly clear with what I'm asking. I'm not doubting.
Right.
I'm not doubting that you guys do get called in. My question is it we're looking for going up from 1 or 2 vehicles up to 4 or 5. When you're telling me this, only one person's getting called in, correct?
It was me on the weekend, but like I mentioned before, being on site, me personally being on site, inspecting the projects like 9th Street, Westdale extension, and then the lift station. That's going to prohibit me from being able to go out and do a call out for, say, if I got a call from dispatch while I'm inspecting the paving being done on 9th Street or the curb and gutter being done on 9th Street. And literally when you walk off a job, there's so many discrepancies that end up happening. Contractor will end up doing something their way, not necessarily per city spec, and that would prevent me from doing a call out. So that's when Sergio would come into play, which he's the maintenance lead, and that's why we're shooting for that.
So Bill, I think your question is, before we had in the code, we have the foreman, we have code enforcement, and we had Wade. Plus, we always had on-call people. So we're basically only adding one additional one to that list, I believe. Yes. And that would be Sergio.
Is there anything being done with the price of fuel currently to help limit that?
Well, no, right now they're paying for their own fuel.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, during the week, and then, driving on the weekend into the shop, and then going and picking the city truck up, doing the rounds, parking the city truck back in the shop, closing up all the gates, and then driving home. I have not been logging in those miles. And on top of that, I'm the first one on the list for dispatch. So if like anything happens at the city, I'm the first one that gets a call. I don't charge standby time to keep my phone on in my pocket the whole time. I don't do that.
Okay, so that's a total separate issue. Is that in your collaborative bargaining agreement?
What's that now?
For you to charge standby time?
It's that I would have to look into it, or possibly, talk to our union rep about that.
Yeah, that is a payroll issue. That's not a vehicle. That's not what I'm trying to get at here. Is do we have a cost versus benefit for having 4 or 5 vehicles out at any given time? And the question is how is this going to change the vehicle maintenance, the premature wear, fuel economy, fuel cost? I mean, everything. And these are not statistics that I'm kind of hearing. I hear what you're doing, and I think you guys are doing a wonderful job at work. I don't have a problem with performance. I understand your standby pay and everything else. That's a collaborative bargaining negotiated. That's a total separate issue. My question is for this city, is having that many vehicles out cost effective for the benefit?
Bill,
And that's my question.
I think the way to determine a cost and benefit is to determine how much each one uses of gas, which I can get all of that from Diana, and then compared to how many times they're actually being called out.
Yeah, I think that would be a very, very good thing to present, because if that justifies the numbers, great. I completely agree with it. But if we have 3 vehicles going home at any given time and only one of them ever gets used, is that cost effective for the city?
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. I'll
I'm
try to understand that.
not concerned with the issue. I'm concerned with the cost of the issue.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need to look at too.
I get what you're saying. So when I do this cost analysis, do you want me to do it by call out, or how much they charge the city for each one? Because normally for example, when a person's on call, they charge 2 hours for the day plus 22 hours of standby. So it's 24 hours.
Okay.
That's for on call. These guys, it just varies. Sometimes they're out 1 hour, half hour, 2 hours.
Oh yeah, we work with them.
Yeah, I don't know what those hours are until payroll. So I can do an average of the last month or two.
Yeah, if you can give me a number of call outs, how long those call outs take and how many miles, say just this year alone, it doesn't even have to be a big spread.
Okay.
It would be really nice to see if this is cost effective to the city to have 3 public works vehicles out versus how many would actually be used.
Okay.
Now I get it. If we have a major water break and more guys got to come in, I don't have a problem with that. But how often does that happen? Is that once a year? Is it, having that in mind and knowing the cost of maintenance on vehicles and fuel right now, I need someone to prove to me that benefit is there.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll work with you on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Real quick, Jenny, Mayor, do we want to consider
Yeah.
extending the meeting?
I think we need to extend the meeting to hear someone has been waiting to present. So I think we need to extend for that. And I don't know the urgency of the memorandum of agreement for the Teamsters, but I'd like to get that. I think some of those are not as long. So I think we should extend at least for a half an hour.
I motion that we extend tonight's meeting for an extra 30 minutes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Reed, aye.
Mochler, aye.
Funk eye.
Sandra, do I?
Sorry, Jenny.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, are we finished with this? We'll bring it back to you then for more discussion.
I think Jenny wanted to speak.
Yeah, please.
Oh, Jenny, okay.
I just wanted to kind of put my 2 cents in on it. So with the.
Excuse me, Jenny, would you get closer to the mic, please?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to put my 2 cents on it. With the distance that I actually live, I feel personally with the amount of calls that I get for emergency response, I do not think, honestly, that the city would benefit in me taking a vehicle home. I mean, I do respond to a few emergency calls. It's minimal at this point, which I would have to say, like in the future, if that did increase, then yes, I would, like to revisit it at that time. But at this time, honestly, I don't think it's a benefit for the city. It'd be a lot of money output in gas where it could be used someplace else. Okay.
Thank you for your honesty.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Can we move on to the next subject?
So just to confirm,
Yeah.
before we move on, the direction from Mr. Sandretto is to update the verbiage and from Bill to do a cost estimate,
Yes.
cost benefit estimate.
I would prefer to see this a section at a time. Complete section, if we're going to update it. Take small bites.
No, I mean the section of the 17 first.
Right.
But before we make our final decision, Bill would like to see a cost benefit estimate.
Cool.
So do you want that at the same meeting or separate meetings?
Same meeting's fine.
Okay. I'll see when I can get that done. Okay. Next.
Okay. So we'll move on now to public infrastructure, security, cyber education, and that's Mr. Ford Powers, I believe, is waiting online to give us a presentation. Mr. Powers, are you still here?
Mayor, I think it's me, Steve Stein.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. Okay.
No, it's quite all right.
Okay, Steve, are you prepared to give this? And can we turn the screen over to you?
Yeah, I'm actually just going to speak to you. So.
Oh, okay.
I figured I'd keep it simple. Good evening. My name is Steve Stein. I am the executive director for PICES, the Public Infrastructure Cybersecurity Education System. This is a program, an enterprise, a nonprofit enterprise that's supported by Pacific Northwest National Lab and the Department of Homeland Security that was started in 2017. What we do is we offer no-cost cybersecurity analysis for small jurisdictions that are generally limited in terms of resources, so they can't afford to pay a commercial company to provide cybersecurity analysis to protect their network. We do that by working with colleges and universities to tap into their student population that's trying to get their degrees in cybersecurity. We put together a program, a course that's offered to the colleges and universities at no cost. And then we have a set of professionals behind that watch what the students do. The professors watch what the students do. They validate the results, and if there are issues or when there are issues, and then we relate those back to the community for action. Again, it's a no-cost enterprise. Essentially, what Pisces would do would be to put what we call a collector on your network that grabs metadata, and metadata is just time, IP address, date. If you think about it in the context of a letter, it would be the address and the return address. So there's no message content that we can see or that the students can see. That's all streamed live to an analytics stack that's managed by Western Washington University. Again, the students analyze that, they identify issues. Those are surfaced to a professional group of folks that vet them. If there's an issue, then we get back to you and provide recommendations for how to mitigate your risk or address the issue. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And we wanted to offer it to Benton City as a potential benefit, potential add. Important to remember that it is not a professional service. In fact, I would say if you can afford a professional service, you should do that. But if you can't afford a professional service, this is a really good secondary solution. It's students, it's not professionals. It's not 24/7 like a professional service would be, but it's a good step up if you don't have any cybersecurity protections at this point. So I'll just stop there, and you can ask questions or tell me how you'd like to proceed.
I understand you just did this system in Othello. Is that correct?
Actually, Othello just signed on, so we'll be putting a collector in their system and bringing them online in the next probably month. We just brought East Wenatchee on board. Number of others. There's about 12, 14 communities in the state of Washington that we're supporting at present. We also provide this capability in Colorado. We're expanding it into Kentucky. We provide it in Alabama, and very likely going to be starting to do it in Maryland.
Great. Are there any questions for Mr. Stein?
Mr. Stein, average cost.
For you, 0.
It looks like towards the end of your agreement, it says that during or at the termination within 90 days, we'll return equipment at our expense. Pretty minimal.
Well, it's a server, so it costs you, if you send it FedEx Express, cost us about $100.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think
Anyone
we
else?
should do it.
I think it's way more of a benefit than a cost to us. I think we should probably either look into this further or move forward with it.
Anybody else have a disagreement with moving forward?
No.
Seems like a good plan.
Sounds good. So do we need to have a contract in place, Mr. Stein?
Not a contract. You should have, if you don't, I'll send it to you. You should have our statement of service. The statement of service is really just intended to be clear about what we do, that these are students, they're not professionals, so that it's not bulletproof. And identifies that we'll put a collector behind your system, guarantees that we'll be collecting metadata, makes it clear that the data itself is yours, it's not ours. So if there is ever an information request to see it, that would be referred to you and you could decide how you want to act, even though frankly it's metadata, so it wouldn't mean anything to anybody. And we can store the data for 90 days on the system, 6 months in the background. But when and if you decide to terminate, it's your call as to whether that information all gets obliterated or whether we keep it for research purposes. So that's basically what the statement of service does. And again, since there's no money changing hands, it's really just kind of an understanding between the two parties. Once you sign that, I sign that, the next step is I'll need a contact for whoever manages your network. So we can talk to them about sort of the topography of the network. And then we will program a collector and send it to you with some instructions. We'll get our people on the line. Essentially, it's pretty simple. You plug in the power cord and you plug the tap into the back of your network. Usually there's an edge switch and power it up. And then we should be seeing data stream from your system into ours, and then we can plug students into it right away. So it's pretty straightforward. Does that help?
Okay, so if council agrees for me to sign this, what did you call it? I'm sorry.
Statement of service.
Okay, agreement of service. Are you all willing to move forward with it then?
Jeff, can we do this as a discussion item?
No.
Certainly can, yeah.
Oh, can we?
There's no dollar amount to exchange.
It's not a contract because we're not giving them any money in exchange for services. So neither party's really bound by anything. It's more like a gift from them basically to us. And we're agreeing to return their property at the end of it.
Okay, you're the lawyer. Can she sign it?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody?
Yep.
Thumbs up.
I so move. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, well, before we do that,
Okay,
motion and who seconds it? and
thank
who-
you.
I motion we enter an agreement with Pisces.
All in favor?
Funk, I.
Wadsworth, aye.
Mr. Reed?
Okay,
Oh, I said aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
okay,
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
thank you.
Oh, thank you for your
Mr.
time.
Stein. And well, please get together with me on this and sign the agreement. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to the memorandum of agreement for Teamsters Union 839.
This is just discussion.
So I had an opportunity to reach out a couple different unions. Obviously with the construction industry, we are strictly a 40-hour call out, so we don't have any part-time. I found most of the part-time with retail. So your groceries and that aspect of it. So for me, it was just depending on who you asked and what union you were asking, what was in their CBA. So it just, like I said, depends if it's retail, construction, public, it just really depends.
Bill?
I too looked into educational and fire and emergency services. And basically, so the fire and emergency services, there's no such thing as a temp, a part-time, any of that. Basically what happens if somebody's absent, somebody else gets overtime based on a rotating list or by seniority or by the amount of overtime they have. When it comes to the educational system, everybody has a set number of hours per day that they work for so many days a year. The only difference with the educational side of things, if say somebody was absent, they were able to hire a substitute or a temp, but not to exceed a certain number of set days.
And they were part of the CBA?
No, they were not.
There was just a time limit put on it from what it sounds like.
Correct. So let's say somebody went out sick and they were repeatedly sick, had a doctor's note for up to, I think it was 10 working days, 14 calendar days, whichever was first. That's where they would actually have to terminate that person's sub status for the time being.
Okay, and I don't know who mentioned it, but I remember somebody saying that they spoke to Russell, and there are CBAs out there that do have part-time and temps. However, the verbiage on there is that it's up to their discretion if they want to join, and it's a limited time frame. So it's up to you guys.
I think if we go through with this, that we would have to have at least 6 months performance from them so that we would know whether we want to extend them the privilege of being part of the union. But no, Russell did say that other cities do allow it. He called it something of some other kind of agreement, but it would bring them in, allow them to come into the union.
And for those 6 months, is that individual not part of the CBA? So they are, I guess, missing out?
Right, because they would be part-time, and just like anyone here, they have to work for 6 months or a year on probation, kind of. So, yeah, it would be a test. As you all brought up, you don't want to get in immediately having somebody in if they're not performing. So it would be, basically a probation period.
And just to clarify, when we hire full-time, they don't wait 6 months to a year to sign up with the CBA. They only wait a month because they're considered full-time.
But they also have a probationary clause in there for a certain amount of time that if their performance is not up to par, they can be excused without warning.
That's correct. That's correct, yes.
So are we going to have conflicting language with a part-timer for 6 months versus you're on probation for a year? How's this? You see my question?
Yeah.
We're kind of colliding here.
Well, I think for part-time people, we would need a separate section and just define what are the rules within that section, what we expect, and leave the rest of it stand.
Right, and I guess part of that question is, once they're hired full-time, are they now probationary? Or by virtue of being a part-time employee, do they move past that?
They would probably have to
I
move
would
past that.
Yeah, I think it was like Mary Bell. She was here for 8 months and she was performing well. So she went right on into full-time and did not have to do another probationary period.
Right.
But Maribel was just so you know, she was hired through a temp agency, so that there wasn't an issue with the CBA. So that was totally different. But she was here for long enough time to where the first 6 months of her probationary period was already kind of done per se. So she's on her last 6 months. Or last however many months it is to the year. And with what we're looking at here, we would hire the part-time. And they would get all the benefits except for this.
They would receive all of what benefits? Just the ones required by law?
Yes.
But nothing under the CBA?
No. Until whatever verbiage we put on there, then they would be CBA. Well, like me, I'm not part of the CBA but I receive part of the benefits. But I'm not part of the CBA.
But that's negotiable in your own contract.
Well, I guess my position is non-exempt or exempt or something like that. It's exempt, so
You're exempt from the CBA, correct?
I'm exempt from the CBA, but I still reap the benefits of some of it.
Yes, and you can, when that contract expires, you can renegotiate that.
Yeah, once the CBA
Correct.
expires, which is in 3. Yeah.
So 2 questions here. And I kind of have concern over the whole part-time employment anyway. What is the purpose of hiring a part-time person?
We need someone to help Diana get her job done. And as you know, she's been on family leave and is coming in some hours a week, but we would like to have someone to help out, fill out the rest of that position.
So it's my understanding she is going to start increasing her hours until she's back to full-time. Am I wrong by saying that?
No, you are not.
Well, we don't know.
So my question is are we going to hire a part-time person that as soon as said employee, and I don't want to give out any information publicly here on her situation, but what are we going to do with that that part-time person once said person returns to full-time employment?
I guess my big question is that really going to happen?
And
well, we're walking a fine line because of the situation with said person, and that's
say that louder.
Yeah, we could go in an executive
We will
session.
need to.
yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying not to get at. But
We're borderline executive
We're
session
closer and
talk.
closer. We don't have to, by the way. It just says, the statute says you may. I mean, you can. I think it's probably appropriate when you're talking about a specific employee's performance.
I would like to say that I think it would be prudent at this point, if we need the extra hours filled, to hire another temp employee.
I'm supportive of Councilman Moakler.
That's why we're in trouble with the union already. That's why we went this route.
So why don't we negotiate with the union that we have the ability to hire a temp for 60 days at a time with justification? I mean, we can have that memo and not have them a part of the CBA. I mean, that's just a matter of negotiating an agreement.
And I guess I would add, if we're looking to hire another part-time individual and then we already have one part-time, why wouldn't we just hire a full-time individual to come in and assist, answer phones, get her or him cross-trained in the office instead of having 2 part-time positions versus 1 full-time position, and that gets us away from having part-time language, period.
And you're about to go into really heavy planning for your 2023 to 2024 biannual budget, which if there's staffing needs that need addressed, will likely be addressed to come up as a request then. So it feels like this should only be a temporary problem, even though I appreciate everyone's been dealing with it. It's been a problem that's caused issue for a while. It seems like we've never been closer to resolution, perhaps.
Right now, it's not in the budget for another full-time person.
I can't hear you, Rebecca. Sorry.
I said it in the budget right now, it's not for another full-time person.
But we have enough for 2 part-time positions.
Because the part-time, it was already budgeted and it's only like 1,500 hours a year, I think, something like that.
And the price is very low.
Compared to hiring.
Well, I think we
Yeah,
should
I
meet our
don't think-
budget if we can.
I just want to ask the question, and I know, let's say 4 years ago, we are at the same staffing level we were at 4 years ago, and I know we're busier. I know we're projected to be busier. What's the issue with our current staffing level other than we have some people out sick? We've got Rebecca. We've got JB, Maribel now, Diana part-time, Denny. I think that puts us right back to where we were a few years ago. And I know we need to hire more, but if we don't have it in the budget for another full-time person, and we just need somebody to come in and help cover some hours, I really think we need to explore the possibility of that temp employee with the union, with the agreement, like Councilman Reed said, just adding in that 60-day limit, see where we're at, reassess and go from there. I think that would be the most prudent position at this point.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts would just go back instead of having two part-time or part-time and a temp, to just hire one full-time, get them fully trained, be here as a full staffed employee and use them year round.
So you realize that means that we would have to eliminate those part-time positions.
I completely understand that, but I
Okay.
think it would be beneficial to have one part-time or one full-time person here that could pitch in and do what needs to be done.
I'm not opposed to that.
Well, if you're expecting that person to also do the minutes, I don't think they'd be able to do that from the office. There's just too much going on. And so I don't know. We'll have to think about that.
I'm gonna
But
jump.
for right now, it makes sense to me to hire somebody on a part-time basis to come in and fill in where we need them. We can get them trained. We need all kinds of time to do things is the main problem. We keep getting hit with records requests that are astronomical. Rebecca can't free herself up to get a lot of stuff done. She's done a magnificent job so far. But as long as we're being bombarded with these records requests and things like that, it's quite difficult. And without having the budget, that's the thing that stops us.
Okay. My suggestion is that we bring the budget back. We look at what's available. We sit down as a group at the next meeting, either prior to the meeting or in some sort of executive session, and discuss and hash out this and get it solved.
Okay.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Okay.
Me too, and I'd be happy to have a
Okay.
special session to talk about it because it sounds like the May 17th agenda is pretty full.
Yeah, I think we should probably have it the first meeting in June.
Would you like to consider a special meeting to get it done before then, to come to an agreement?
Or a workshop.
Oh, I don't think we need to do that.
Yeah, I just hold it off till June.
Okay.
Just seems like it's an emergency.
Can we move on to the last item?
Okay. So shall we move on to the last agenda item now? We still have 10 minutes. So that's the installation of the lockbox at the city library.
That's mine.
And who's discussing it? That's yours? Okay.
So I was approached by Stacy from the library asking if they can put a lockbox outside the library. because-
Rebecca, can you speak closer to the microphone, please?
Yes, sir, sorry. I was approached by Stacy from the library requesting for them to install a lockbox for their keys for an employee who, I guess, goes in at certain times and doesn't have a key. So they're wanting to put a lockbox on the city library. I know it's our building. They're gonna be doing all the work. I already talked to Jose. He doesn't see an issue, but I just wanted to let you guys know in case somebody brought it to your guys' attention that what's being added to your building.
I'm
with
good.
it. Yeah.
Let 'em
Thank
do
you.
it.
Yeah,
I'm good.
they're the ones doing all the work. That was my first question was, what does the city have to pay for? They're like, no, we're doing it all. So
Sounds good.
just keep you guys informed.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would just like to thank everybody for staying late tonight. I'd like to welcome Sarah Funk to the board. And I would also like to motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.